Have you ever wondered why certain remedies work for some people despite having no scientific basis? Or why patients report better results from expensive medications compared to cheaper generics with identical formulations? Tonight, we're exploring how your mind might be the most sophisticated pharmacy you'll ever encounter, the placebo effect. Welcome back to Midnight Deep Dive, where knowledge becomes a lullaby. I hope you've had a good day and you're ready to unwind with something genuinely mind-bending. If you have your own placebo stories or stories about the power of belief, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. Now settle in, close your eyes, and let's explore together how the simple act of believing can literally rewire our brains and bodies. Chapter 1: Core Foundation. Let's begin at the very beginning with a word that has become so common we rarely think about its origins. Placebo comes from the Latin phrase placebo domino, meaning, "I shall please the Lord." It appeared first in medieval Catholic funeral rites, where mourners would recite psalms beginning with these words. But here's where it gets interesting. By the 14th century, placebo had taken on a more cynical meaning. It referred to professional mourners, people paid to attend funerals and sing praises they didn't really mean. The word had evolved to suggest something performed for show, something fake but convincing. This linguistic journey perfectly captures the essence of what we call the placebo effect today. Something that appears inactive, even deceptive, yet somehow produces very real results. The medical world didn't formally adopt the term until 1785, when a British physician named William Cullen used it to describe treatments given more to please than to benefit the patient. Even then, doctors understood there was something powerful happening, even if they couldn't explain it. Picture those early physicians in their dimly lit studies, surrounded by leather-bound books and flickering candles. They were observing something that challenged everything they thought they knew about healing. Patients would improve after taking treatments that contained nothing therapeutic whatsoever. The doctors could see it happening, document it, measure it, but they had no framework for understanding it. For centuries, the placebo effect was medicine's awkward stepchild. Doctors knew it existed, but they whispered about it in medical journals like it was somehow embarrassing. It was treated as noise in the data, something to be controlled for and eliminated rather than studied and understood. The assumption was simple. If a treatment worked through belief rather than biochemistry, it wasn't real medicine. But what if that assumption was completely wrong? What if the distinction between real and fake medicine was itself an illusion? As we'll discover tonight, your brain doesn't particularly care whether healing comes from a pharmaceutical compound or from your own biochemical factory. It just cares that healing happens. The definition of placebo has evolved dramatically over the past few decades. We used to think of it as simply an inert substance, a sugar pill, saline injection, or dummy treatment. But researchers now understand that the placebo effect isn't really about the pill at all. It's about the entire therapeutic experience, the ritual of taking medicine, the relationship with a caregiver, the expectation of improvement, and the meaning we assign to the treatment. Consider this remarkable fact. The same sugar pill can have completely different effects depending on what you tell someone about it. Tell them it's a powerful new painkiller, and their pain might genuinely decrease. Tell them it might cause nausea, and they might actually feel sick. The pill hasn't changed, but the story around it has transformed its biological impact. This brings us to one of the most profound questions in modern medicine. If belief can create measurable physical changes in our bodies, where exactly do we draw the line between mind and body? The placebo effect suggests that this line might be far more blurred than we've ever imagined. Your thoughts, expectations, and beliefs aren't just psychological phenomena. They're biochemical events with real-world consequences. As we settle deeper into this exploration tonight, keep this in mind. Every time you felt better just from making a doctor's appointment, every time a parent's kiss made a child's pain disappear, Every time you felt relief just from taking action about a health concern, you've experienced the placebo effect firsthand. You've witnessed your mind's ability to reach into your body's medicine cabinet and prescribe exactly what you needed. Chapter 2: The Science Behind the Magic. Now let's pull back the curtain and see what's actually happening in your brain when the placebo effect kicks in. Picture this. You're lying in an fMRI scanner, and researchers have just given you what they've told you is a powerful painkiller. Within minutes, specific regions of your brain light up like a Christmas tree. Your anterior cingulate cortex becomes active, your prefrontal areas engage, and most remarkably, your brain begins producing its own morphine-like substances called endorphins. This isn't imagination or positive thinking. This is measurable, observable brain chemistry in action. When you expect relief, your brain literally becomes a pharmaceutical factory, manufacturing the exact compounds you need to feel better. The endorphin release triggered by placebo treatments can be so powerful that it's blocked by naloxone, the same drug used to reverse heroin overdoses. Think about that for a moment. Your brain's placebo response is chemically similar enough to actual opioids that it can be stopped by an opioid blocker. But endorphins are just the beginning of this internal pharmacy. Placebo treatments trigger the release of dopamine in your brain's reward pathways, which is why expectation of improvement can create feelings of hope and motivation even before any actual healing begins. They can stimulate the release of natural anti-anxiety compounds, reduce stress hormones like cortisol, and even boost immune system function. Perhaps most fascinating is what happens with neurotransmitters. When you expect a treatment to help with depression, your brain may increase serotonin production. When you anticipate pain relief, it might ramp up GABA, your body's natural anxiety reducer. It's as if your brain has been paying attention to what different medicines are supposed to do. And when it believes one is coming, it starts preparing the appropriate chemical welcome party. The conditioning aspect of this process is absolutely remarkable. Remember Pavlov's dogs salivating at the sound of a bell? Your brain does something similar with medical treatments. If you've taken pain medication before and experienced relief, just the act of taking a pill, any pill, can trigger your brain to start the pain relief process. The white coat of a doctor, the sterile smell of a hospital, the weight of a pill in your hand, these all become conditioned triggers for healing. There's a beautiful study that demonstrates this perfectly. Researchers gave patients with Parkinson's disease a placebo treatment, but they told them it was a powerful new medication. Brain scans showed increased dopamine production in exactly the brain regions affected by Parkinson's. The patient's movements improved, their tremors reduced, and their overall symptoms decreased, all because their brains believed help was coming and started manufacturing the very neurotransmitter that Parkinson's destroys. Color psychology plays a role here too, in ways that might surprise you. Blue pills are more effective for anxiety and sleep disorders. Red pills work better for pain and stimulation, and white pills are perceived as the strongest overall. This isn't marketing. This is your brain making assumptions about what different colors should do, and then biochemically making those assumptions come true. The size and weight of pills matter too. Larger pills feel more powerful to our unconscious minds, and heavier tablets are perceived as more serious medicine. Injections work better than pills for the same placebo effect, probably because they feel more medical, more invasive, and therefore more real to our brain's pattern-matching system. To truly understand how belief becomes biology, we need to dive deeper into the intricate neural networks that transform expectation into healing. The brain regions involved in placebo responses read like a map of human consciousness itself, areas responsible for memory, emotion, attention, and bodily awareness, all working in concert to create therapeutic effects. The anterior cingulate cortex, a region deep in your brain that processes both emotional and physical pain, becomes hyperactive during placebo responses. This area acts like a volume control for suffering, and placebo treatments essentially teach it to turn down the intensity of pain signals. Brain imaging shows that people experiencing placebo analgesia have decreased activity in their anterior cingulate cortex, as if their brains have literally learned to hurt less. But the prefrontal cortex, the brain's executive center, is where expectation gets translated into biochemical commands. When you anticipate relief, this region begins sending signals throughout your nervous system, preparing your body for the healing you expect to receive. It's like a conductor raising a baton before an orchestra begins to play, coordinating all the different systems that will need to work together to create the healing symphony. The periaqueductal gray, a small region in your brainstem, serves as your body's natural morphine factory. Placebo treatments can trigger this area to release endorphins at levels comparable to moderate doses of actual morphine. What's remarkable is that this endorphin release can be conditioned. After repeated exposure to real pain medication, just the ritual of taking pills can trigger your periaqueductal gray to start producing natural painkillers. The role of memory in placebo responses reveals something beautiful about how our brains learn to heal. Each positive medical experience gets stored in your hippocampus as a healing memory. When you encounter similar medical situations later, your brain automatically accesses these memories and begins preparing the same healing responses that worked before. This is why people who have had positive experiences with certain types of treatments often respond more strongly to placebos presented in similar formats. The immune system's involvement in placebo responses reveals how intimately connected our thoughts are to our body's defense mechanisms. Expectation of healing can increase natural killer cell activity, boost antibody production, and reduce inflammatory markers. This isn't just correlation. Controlled studies show that people given placebo treatments designed to boost immune function actually develop stronger immune responses when exposed to viruses or other challenges. Stress hormone regulation represents another crucial mechanism in placebo healing. Chronic stress suppresses immune function, increases inflammation, and amplifies pain perception. Placebo treatments that create expectation of relief often trigger dramatic reductions in cortisol and other stress hormones. This stress reduction alone can account for many of the physical improvements people experience from belief-based treatments. Perhaps most remarkably, gene expression can change in response to placebo treatments. Studies have shown that expectation of healing can influence which genes are turned on or off in immune cells, brain tissue, and other organs. This means that belief doesn't just influence existing biological processes. It can actually change how your genetic code is being read and implemented. Chapter 3: Beyond Pills, the Placebo Universe. The world of placebo effects extends far beyond sugar pills, into territories that challenge everything we think we know about medical intervention. Let me tell you about a study that still gives researchers chills. In the 1950s, patients with severe chest pain were told they would receive revolutionary heart surgery. Half of them got the full procedure. Surgeons opened their chests and performed complex operations on their coronary arteries. The other half received sham surgery. Doctors made the same incisions, performed the same prep, but never touched their hearts. They simply opened them up and closed them again. The results were identical. Both groups experienced the same level of pain relief, the same improvement in exercise tolerance, the same return to normal activities. The patients who received fake surgery had no idea they hadn't received the real thing, and their bodies healed as if they had undergone the most advanced cardiac intervention available. This wasn't an isolated incident. Similar results have been replicated with knee surgery, spinal procedures, and even brain surgery for Parkinson's disease. Imagine lying on an operating table, surrounded by the beeping of monitors, the bright surgical lights warming your face, the gentle voice of an anesthesiologist counting you down to sleep. Your brain is absorbing every detail of this profound medical ritual, and it's already beginning the healing process based on its absolute certainty that expert intervention is coming. When you wake up with surgical bandages and the care of medical professionals, your belief in your recovery becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. One particularly compelling study involved patients receiving sham spinal surgery for chronic back pain. The procedure involved making incisions, manipulating tissues to simulate real surgery, and even playing recorded sounds of surgical equipment. Patients who received these fake procedures reported pain improvements lasting months or even years, identical to those who underwent actual spinal fusion surgery. The power of medical devices to create placebo effects has led to an entire field studying sham device responses. Researchers have created fake ultrasound machines, inactive electrical stimulation units, and non-functional laser therapy devices, all producing measurable therapeutic benefits simply because patients believed they were receiving advanced treatment. Consider the fascinating case of transcutaneous electrical nerve stimulation, or TENS units. These devices are supposed to reduce pain by delivering small electrical pulses through the skin. But studies using broken TENS units, devices that looked and sounded identical but delivered no electrical stimulation, found that patients still reported significant pain relief. The ritual of attaching electrodes, hearing the device's gentle humming, and believing that scientific intervention was occurring was enough to trigger the brain's own pain management systems. The world of alternative medicine offers countless examples of treatments that work primarily through placebo mechanisms, yet provide genuine relief for millions of people. Take acupuncture. Studies have shown that sham acupuncture, where needles are inserted randomly or don't penetrate the skin at all, often works just as well as traditional acupuncture for pain relief. But here's the beautiful part. It's not that acupuncture is fake. It's that the healing ritual, lying still, being cared for, expecting relief, is incredibly powerful regardless of whether the needles hit the correct points. Reiki practitioners channel universal life energy through their hands to promote healing. While no measurable energy transfer occurs, patients consistently report reduced anxiety, better sleep, and improved pain management. The focused attention, gentle touch, and healing intentions create powerful therapeutic environments that trigger real physiological changes. Crystal healing operates on similar principles. Patients lie surrounded by carefully selected stones believed to have specific healing properties: amethyst for stress relief, rose quartz for emotional healing, clear quartz for general wellness. The elaborate rituals of crystal selection, the peaceful environments where treatments occur, and the practitioner's confident belief in the healing process all contribute to measurable improvements in stress markers and subjective well-being. The role of social proof in placebo responses reveals how deeply our healing expectations are influenced by community. Patients who know that others have experienced dramatic improvements from a treatment are much more likely to experience those improvements themselves. This is why testimonials and success stories are so powerful in marketing health products. They're not just advertising. They're actually programming potential patients' brains for healing responses. The price effect in placebo research is absolutely fascinating. In study after study, expensive placebos outperform cheap ones by significant margins. Give someone a $50 sugar pill and tell them it's cutting-edge medicine, and they'll report better outcomes than someone who receives the same sugar pill marketed as a $5 generic. This isn't about people being superficial. It's about our brains using every available piece of information to calibrate how much healing to expect. Chapter 4: The Dark Side, Nocebo Effects. But belief is a double-edged sword, and if positive expectations can heal, negative ones can harm. Welcome to the shadow side of the placebo effect, the nocebo response, where expecting bad outcomes can literally make them manifest. The word nocebo means "I will harm" in Latin, and it represents one of medicine's most unsettling discoveries, that our thoughts and fears can make us genuinely sick. Picture this scenario. You're given a completely harmless sugar pill, but you're told it might cause nausea, dizziness, and headaches. Within hours, you start feeling queasy. Your head begins to throb. You feel unsteady on your feet. These aren't imaginary symptoms. They're real, measurable physiological responses triggered by nothing more than expectation. Your brain, in its effort to protect you by preparing for anticipated side effects, actually creates the very symptoms you feared. The nocebo effect is responsible for a significant portion of side effects reported in drug trials. When patients read long lists of potential adverse effects before starting a medication, they're essentially being programmed to expect problems. Their brains, primed to notice any unusual sensations, begin interpreting normal bodily variations as drug-related symptoms. It's a cruel irony that our attempts to provide informed consent might actually be creating some of the problems we're warning people about. Some of the most dramatic nocebo effects have been documented in cultural contexts where belief in harmful magic is strong. There are well-documented cases from various cultures of people becoming seriously ill or even dying after being told they've been cursed or hexed. Australian Aboriginal communities have recorded instances of bone pointing, a ritual where someone is ceremonially cursed, leading to rapid deterioration and death in otherwise healthy individuals. One of the most famous cases involved a man who learned he had been cursed by a witch doctor. Despite being in good health, he became increasingly ill, losing weight and strength until he was near death. His symptoms had no medical explanation until another healer performed an elaborate curse removal ceremony. The man recovered completely within days. His belief in both the curse and its removal had created a complete medical crisis and cure, all without any physical intervention. But nocebo effects aren't limited to exotic cultural practices. They happen every day in modern medical settings. Patients who are told they have a high chance of experiencing pain during a procedure report significantly more pain than those given positive expectations. People warned about potential medication side effects experience those side effects at much higher rates. Even reading about symptoms online can trigger their manifestation, a phenomenon so common it's been dubbed cyberchondria. The mechanism behind nocebo effects involves the same neural pathways as placebo healing, just running in reverse. Instead of releasing endorphins and healing compounds, your brain may increase stress hormones, heighten pain sensitivity, and suppress immune function. The same power that can heal you can also harm you, activated by nothing more than fearful expectation. Consider the phenomenon of medical student syndrome, where students learning about diseases begin experiencing symptoms of every condition they study. Their brains, newly aware of potential symptoms to watch for, start interpreting normal bodily sensations as signs of pathology. A slight headache becomes a potential brain tumor, muscle tension becomes a neurological disorder, and everyday fatigue becomes chronic illness. Mass psychogenic illness events demonstrate the nocebo effect's ability to spread through communities like a contagion. In 1998, a teacher in a Tennessee school reported a gasoline-like odor and began feeling ill. Within hours, over 100 students and staff members had developed similar symptoms: headaches, nausea, dizziness, and breathing difficulties. Extensive environmental testing found no toxic substances. The epidemic was driven entirely by suggestion and social contagion. Yet the symptoms experienced were completely real and required medical treatment. Similar events have occurred in factories, schools, and other group settings worldwide. People observe others becoming ill, assume they're exposed to the same harmful agent and begin developing identical symptoms. Their brains, trying to protect them from perceived danger, actually create the very symptoms they fear. The power of suggestion combined with social proof can literally make entire groups of healthy people sick. Environmental nocebo effects occur when people believe they're being exposed to harmful substances or energy fields. Communities near cell phone towers, power lines, or industrial facilities sometimes report clusters of symptoms attributed to electromagnetic fields or chemical exposures. Even when scientific testing finds no harmful substances, the symptoms persist because the belief in exposure continues to trigger physiological stress responses. Chapter 5: Historical Deep Dive. Let's journey back through time to understand how humanity has grappled with the mysterious power of belief to heal. Long before we had words like placebo or understood brain chemistry, humans were documenting cases of healing that seemed to defy logic. In ancient Egypt, temple sleep was a common healing practice. Patients would travel great distances to spend the night in sacred temples, believing that the gods would visit them in dreams and cure their ailments. Thousands of people reported miraculous recoveries from these overnight stays. Were the gods really intervening? Or were people experiencing the powerful placebo effects of ritual, expectation, and sacred environment? The ancient Greeks took this concept even further with their Asclepions, elaborate healing temples dedicated to Asclepius, the god of medicine. These weren't simple buildings, but complex therapeutic environments designed to inspire awe and expectation. Patients would undergo purification rituals, make offerings, share their stories with priests, and sleep in sacred chambers surrounded by images of healing. Many left completely cured of conditions that had plagued them for years. What's remarkable about these ancient healing centers is how sophisticated their understanding of therapeutic environment was. They combined beautiful architecture, soothing sounds of flowing water, aromatic gardens, supportive community, and powerful ritual, creating what we might now recognize as the perfect conditions for placebo healing. They understood intuitively what modern science is just beginning to measure: that healing happens in context, and that context matters enormously. The medieval period brought us some of the most colorful examples of placebo medicine. Royal touch ceremonies, where kings and queens would lay hands on sick subjects to cure them of scrofula and other diseases, drew thousands of participants. The elaborate pageantry, the belief in divine authority, and the rare opportunity for personal contact with royalty created powerful healing expectations. Court records document numerous cases of apparent cures following these ceremonial touches. But perhaps nowhere is the historical power of placebo more evident than in the era of patent medicines in the 18th and 19th centuries. This was the Wild West of healing, when elaborate tonics and cure-alls promised to treat everything from melancholy to consumption. These concoctions often contained nothing more than alcohol, sugar, and herbs, yet they generated passionate testimonials from satisfied customers. Dr. Hamlin's wizard oil promised to cure headaches, toothaches, sprains, and all pain. Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup claimed to calm fussy babies and help them sleep. Vin Mariani, a wine infused with coca leaves, was endorsed by celebrities and claimed to restore health and vitality. What made these products work wasn't their ingredients. It was the elaborate marketing, the theatrical salesmanship, and the desperate hope of people seeking relief from suffering. The traveling medicine shows of the American frontier were particularly skilled at creating placebo effects. Picture a torchlit evening in a small town, with a charismatic salesman in a top hat regaling crowds with stories of miraculous cures. He would invite locals on stage to share their testimonials, creating social proof and building collective belief in his products. The entire spectacle was designed to maximize expectation and minimize skepticism. One of the most significant historical moments for placebo research came during World War II, when Allied medics ran out of morphine. An anesthesiologist named Henry Beecher began injecting wounded soldiers with salt water, telling them it was powerful pain medication. To his amazement, many soldiers experienced genuine relief from this fake morphine. Beecher's observations led him to conduct the first systematic studies of placebo effects after the war, essentially founding modern placebo research. The thalidomide tragedy of the late 1950s and early 1960s, while devastating, revolutionized how we test new medicines and led to our modern understanding of placebo controls. Before thalidomide, many drugs were approved based on testimonials and observational studies. The need to distinguish between true drug effects and placebo responses led to the development of randomized controlled trials, where neither patients nor doctors know who's receiving real treatment versus placebo. Franz Mesmer's magnetic healing sessions in 18th century Paris offer another fascinating glimpse into historical placebo effects. Mesmer claimed that illness was caused by disrupted magnetic fields, and he held elaborate group healing sessions where patients would sit around tubs filled with iron filings and magnetic rods. The sessions often included music, dim lighting, and Mesmer himself, moving dramatically around the room with his magnetic wands. Many participants reported dramatic improvements, fainting fits followed by complete recovery, the disappearance of chronic pain, and even the restoration of sight and hearing. While Mesmer's magnetic theories were eventually debunked, the healing experiences were real. What he had accidentally created was a perfect environment for collective placebo effects. Expectation, ritual, authority, and community, all working together to trigger the brain's healing responses. Ancient Chinese medicine developed perhaps the most elaborate theoretical framework for understanding belief-based healing. The concept of qi, or life energy, provided a sophisticated model for how mental states could influence physical health. Traditional Chinese physicians spent years learning to read subtle cues about patient expectations and belief systems. Understanding that successful treatment required addressing both physical symptoms and the patient's faith in recovery. Indigenous healing traditions around the world have long understood something that Western medicine is only now rediscovering: that healing is as much about meaning, community, and belief as it is about specific treatments. Shamanic healing ceremonies, with their elaborate rituals, community involvement, and powerful symbolism, create profound placebo effects that work alongside any medicinal properties of plant medicines or other treatments. Chapter 6: Modern Mysteries and Frontiers. As we venture into the cutting edge of placebo research, we encounter phenomena so strange they read like science fiction. Yet these are happening right now in major medical centers around the world, challenging everything we thought we knew about the boundaries between mind and medicine. One of the most perplexing discoveries in recent placebo research is that placebo effects are getting stronger over time. Studies comparing identical placebo treatments from the 1990s to today show that people are responding more dramatically to fake treatments now than they did decades ago. Some researchers call this placebo inflation. Depression studies show particularly dramatic increases. Placebo response rates have nearly doubled in some trials over the past 30 years. Why might this be happening? One theory involves our changing relationship with medicine and technology. We live in an era of unprecedented medical miracles, gene therapy, targeted cancer treatments, organ transplants that were unimaginable a generation ago. Our collective belief in medicine's power has grown dramatically, and this enhanced faith might be amplifying our brain's healing responses to any treatment, real or fake. But the most mind-bending development in placebo research is the discovery of open-label placebos, treatments where patients know they're receiving sugar pills, yet they still get better. Let that sink in for a moment. People are told explicitly that they're taking an inert substance with no active ingredients, and their symptoms still improve. The first major open-label placebo study involved patients with irritable bowel syndrome. Half received their usual care, while the other half received sugar pills in bottles clearly labeled placebo. The placebo group was told honestly that these pills contained no active ingredients, but that placebo effects could still be powerful. After 3 weeks, the placebo group showed significantly more improvement than those receiving standard care. This finding turned placebo research upside down. For decades, we assumed that deception was necessary for placebo effects, that patients had to believe they were receiving real medicine. Open-label studies suggest that the healing power of medical ritual, attention, and hope can work even when the magic trick is revealed. Imagine walking into your doctor's office with chronic pain and being handed a bottle labeled sugar pills, no active ingredients. Your doctor explains that taking these pills regularly as part of a structured treatment routine might help your symptoms even though you know they're not real medicine. It sounds absurd, yet patients in these studies report genuine relief. Their brains somehow find ways to generate healing responses even when the rational mind knows the treatment is inert. Brain stimulation research has opened fascinating new avenues for understanding placebo mechanisms. Techniques like transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS, and transcranial direct current stimulation, TDCS, can selectively activate or suppress specific brain regions involved in placebo responses. Researchers can now literally turn placebo effects on and off by stimulating the appropriate neural circuits, providing unprecedented insight into the biological basis of belief-based healing. The genetics of placebo response is revealing why some people are dramatically more susceptible to both healing and harmful belief effects. Variations in the COMT gene, which breaks down dopamine in the prefrontal cortex, significantly influence placebo sensitivity. People with certain COMT variants show much stronger responses to placebo treatments, while others seem almost immune to belief-based interventions. Serotonin transporter gene variants also predict placebo responsiveness, particularly for depression and anxiety treatments. The same genetic variations that influence response to antidepressant medications also determine how strongly someone responds to placebo antidepressants. This suggests that placebo and pharmaceutical healing might work through overlapping biological pathways. Chapter 7: Ethical Dilemmas and Philosophy. The deeper we dive into placebo research, the more we encounter questions that go to the very heart of what healing means and what medicine should be. These aren't just academic debates, they're practical challenges that will shape the future of healthcare and our understanding of human potential. Consider the economics of placebo healing. If sugar pills can provide the same pain relief as expensive medications for some patients, what are the implications for healthcare costs? The global pharmaceutical industry generates hundreds of billions of dollars annually by developing and marketing complex chemical compounds. But if belief-based healing can achieve similar outcomes at a fraction of the cost, how do we restructure an entire economic system built around expensive interventions? The challenge becomes even more complex when we consider that the expense of a treatment often enhances its placebo effects. Patients receiving expensive placebos report better outcomes than those receiving cheap ones, even when the contents are identical. This suggests that the high cost of modern medicine might actually contribute to its effectiveness, creating a paradox where making treatments cheaper could make them less effective. The central ethical tension revolves around informed consent and therapeutic deception. Traditional medical ethics demands that patients be fully informed about their treatments, including the fact that some might be placebos in research studies. But if knowing about the placebo reduces its effectiveness, does providing complete information actually harm patients? We're caught between the principle of honesty and the goal of healing. Consider a doctor who knows that a patient's chronic pain would likely improve with placebo treatment. The patient has tried multiple medications without success, and their condition significantly impacts their quality of life. Should the doctor prescribe a sugar pill while telling them it's a new pain medication? The deception might provide real relief, but it violates the trust that forms the foundation of the doctor-patient relationship. Some ethicists argue for what they call beneficial deception, lies told with the intention of healing. They point out that doctors already engage in forms of therapeutic deception when they express optimism about treatments they're not entirely confident in, or when they downplay the severity of side effects to prevent nocebo responses. If these small deceptions are acceptable, why not larger ones that could provide significant relief? Others argue that deception in medicine, no matter how well-intentioned, corrupts the entire therapeutic relationship. They worry about a slippery slope where doctors become comfortable lying to patients whenever they think it might be beneficial. Trust, they argue, is more valuable than any temporary therapeutic gain from deception. The open-label placebo studies offer one potential solution to this ethical dilemma. If patients can experience placebo healing even while knowing they're receiving inert treatments, we might be able to harness the power of belief without the need for deception. But this raises new questions. Should medical schools teach doctors how to optimize placebo responses? Should insurance companies cover placebo treatments? How do we integrate belief-based healing into evidence-based medicine? The question of cultural competency in placebo medicine is particularly complex. Different cultures have vastly different beliefs about healing, authority, and the relationship between mind and body. Treatment approaches that work well in one cultural context might be completely ineffective or even harmful in another. Should medical practice be adapted to work with patients' existing belief systems, even when those beliefs conflict with scientific understanding? Perhaps most fundamentally, placebo research forces us to confront our assumptions about what constitutes legitimate healing. If someone's depression improves after taking sugar pills they believe are antidepressants, is their recovery real? Their brain chemistry has changed, their symptoms have decreased, their quality of life has improved, and their functioning has returned to normal levels. Does the mechanism of healing matter if the outcome is genuine wellness? This question touches on deep philosophical issues about the nature of consciousness and its relationship to physical reality. Placebo effects suggest that mind and body aren't separate entities, but aspects of a single, integrated system. Consciousness isn't just along for the ride in healing. It's an active participant that can directly influence biological processes. Chapter 8: The Placebo Effect in Everyday Life. The placebo effect isn't confined to medical settings. It's woven into the fabric of our daily lives in ways most of us never notice. Every morning when you reach for your favorite coffee mug, every time you put on clothes that make you feel confident, every time you choose the premium option because it feels better, you're potentially triggering placebo responses that affect how you feel, perform, and experience the world. Let's start with something we can all relate to: your morning coffee ritual. The aroma of freshly ground beans, the weight of your favorite mug in your hands, the first sip of perfectly heated liquid. These sensory experiences begin triggering alertness and energy even before the caffeine has time to reach your brain. Studies show that people report feeling more awake within minutes of drinking coffee, much faster than caffeine's pharmacological effects could account for. Your brain, conditioned by thousands of previous coffee experiences, starts preparing for energy and focus the moment it recognizes the ritual beginning. But it goes deeper than timing. Decaffeinated coffee served in coffee shop settings can produce measurable improvements in alertness and cognitive performance compared to the same decaf served in plain cups at home. The environmental context, The bustling cafe atmosphere, the professional barista, the premium pricing, all contribute to enhanced expectation effects. Your brain uses every available cue to determine how energized you should feel. Athletic performance represents one of the most dramatic areas where placebo effects show up in daily life. Professional athletes routinely use equipment, supplements, and training methods that work primarily through belief mechanisms. Those colorful kinesiology tapes you see on Olympic athletes. Studies show they provide pain relief and performance enhancement even when applied randomly, not following proper technique. The tape itself does very little, but the athlete's belief in receiving professional, scientific support enhances their performance. Running shoes offer another perfect example. Expensive, technologically advanced sneakers often improve performance metrics not just through better engineering, but through enhanced confidence and expectation. Runners wearing shoes they believe are superior run faster, report less fatigue, and experience fewer injuries compared to the same runners in cheaper shoes, even when the actual performance differences between the shoes are minimal. The sports supplement industry operates largely on placebo principles. Protein powders with elaborate marketing claims, recovery drinks with impressive ingredient lists, and performance enhancers with scientific-sounding names often work primarily by convincing athletes they're doing something special for their bodies. The ritual of pre-workout supplementation, the investment in performance enhancement, and the belief in gaining an edge all contribute to measurable improvements in strength, endurance, and recovery. Restaurant environments create powerful placebo effects around food enjoyment and satisfaction. The same meal tastes better when served on heavy plates in dimly lit restaurants with classical music compared to paper plates under fluorescent lights. Wine studies show that people rate identical wines as more delicious when told they're expensive or from prestigious vineyards. The sensory environment, social context, and expectation literally change how your brain processes taste and pleasure. Fashion and clothing create placebo effects that influence confidence, performance, and even cognitive function. People wearing clothes they perceive as professional perform better on analytical tasks. Students wearing lab coats show improved attention to detail. Athletes wearing team uniforms they associate with success demonstrate enhanced performance metrics. The clothing itself isn't changing their capabilities, but their brains are responding to the symbolic meaning and associated expectations. Beauty and skincare products represent a massive industry built largely on placebo principles. Expensive moisturizers often work better than cheaper identical formulations simply because users believe they're receiving superior care for their skin. The elaborate application rituals, luxurious packaging, and premium pricing all contribute to enhanced satisfaction and perceived effectiveness. People using skincare products they believe are high-end report better skin texture, appearance, and confidence, even in blind studies where product quality is controlled. The home environment generates countless subtle placebo effects that influence mood, productivity, and well-being. Lighting that's labeled as energizing or calming affects how people feel in spaces, even when the actual light spectrum is identical. Air fresheners marketed for specific moods, focus, relaxation, creativity, can trigger measurable changes in cognitive performance and emotional state. Your brain responds to the promised environmental effects by adjusting its chemistry accordingly. Music therapy and sound environments demonstrate how auditory placebo effects work in daily life. People told that certain frequencies will improve their sleep actually sleep better when exposed to those sounds, even when the frequencies are randomly generated. Meditation music marketed for specific purposes, stress relief, concentration, healing, often works better than identical music without the purposeful labeling. The intention and expectation around the auditory experience shapes its psychological and physiological effects. Technology placebo effects have become increasingly prominent in our digital age. Fitness trackers and health monitoring devices often improve user behavior and well-being simply through the act of monitoring, regardless of their accuracy. People wearing devices they believe are advanced health technology report feeling more energetic, motivated, and health-conscious. The device becomes a constant reminder of health intentions, triggering behavioral and physiological changes that fulfill those intentions. Sleep quality represents another area where placebo effects show up regularly. People who believe they've had good sleep, whether through sleeping pills, special mattresses, or sleep tracking technology, perform better on cognitive tasks and report better mood, even when objective sleep quality measures don't show improvement. Your brain's interpretation of how well you slept matters, as much as the actual sleep architecture you experienced. The workspace environment creates powerful placebo effects around productivity and creativity. People working in spaces labeled as creative or high performance often demonstrate improved output and innovation, even when the physical environments are identical. Plants in offices, ergonomic furniture, and ambient lighting all contribute to enhanced work performance partly through their actual effects, but significantly through the expectation that these elements should improve workplace experience. Social placebo effects permeate our relationships and community interactions. Support groups work partly through direct social benefits, but also through powerful collective placebo effects. Being surrounded by people who believe in recovery, hearing success stories, and participating in healing-focused communities all trigger biological changes that support the expected improvements. Even our relationship with information and learning demonstrates placebo-like effects. Students who believe they're using advanced learning techniques or study methods often perform better academically, regardless of whether those methods have proven superiority. The confidence in their approach, the sense of having an edge, and the increased motivation all contribute to improved educational outcomes. Exercise placebo effects appear throughout fitness culture. People who believe they're following cutting-edge workout programs, using scientifically advanced training methods, or accessing exclusive fitness knowledge often see better results than those doing identical exercises without the enhanced expectations. The ritual of specialized training, the investment in fitness advancement, and the belief in optimized performance all amplify the benefits of physical activity. Chapter 9: The Future of Placebo Medicine. As we look toward the future, the landscape of placebo medicine is evolving in ways that would have seemed like pure fantasy just a decade ago. We're moving toward a world where the power of belief and expectation might be precisely calibrated, personalized, and integrated into mainstream healthcare as legitimate therapeutic tools rather than curious side effects to be minimized. Artificial intelligence is already beginning to revolutionize how we understand and predict placebo responses. Machine learning algorithms trained on vast data sets of brain imaging, genetic profiles, personality assessments, and treatment histories can now predict with remarkable accuracy who will respond to placebo interventions and what types of presentations will be most effective for each individual. Imagine visiting your doctor in 2030 and receiving a personalized placebo profile. The AI system analyzes your genetic markers for dopamine sensitivity, your psychological profile for authority responsiveness, your cultural background for healing expectations, and your medical history for conditioning patterns. Based on this analysis, it recommends the optimal placebo delivery method for your unique neurobiology, perhaps a blue capsule taken in the morning with classical music, or an injection administered in a high-tech medical setting. Virtual and augmented reality are creating entirely new possibilities for immersive placebo experiences. VR therapy environments are already showing impressive results for pain management, anxiety treatment, and rehabilitation. But future applications might include fully immersive healing experiences, where patients can virtually visit magical healing locations, receive treatment from AI-generated practitioners, or participate in elaborate therapeutic ceremonies that trigger powerful placebo responses. Picture putting on a VR headset and finding yourself in an ancient Greek healing temple, complete with the sounds of flowing water, the scent of healing herbs, and the presence of wise healers who provide personalized treatment recommendations. Your brain, immersed in this convincing healing environment, begins generating therapeutic responses based on the rich sensory experience and strong healing expectations. Augmented reality could overlay healing imagery onto real medical environments, enhancing the therapeutic atmosphere of hospitals and clinics. Patients might see personalized healing visualizations during treatments, receive real-time feedback about their body's healing processes, or participate in YAR-guided meditation and visualization, exercises that amplify their natural healing responses. The field of precision medicine is beginning to intersect with placebo research in fascinating ways. As we develop treatments targeted to individual genetic profiles, we're also learning to target placebo interventions to individual psychological and neurobiological profiles. Someone with high dopamine sensitivity might respond better to reward-focused placebo presentations, while someone with strong social orientation might benefit more from community-based placebo interventions. Biomarker-guided placebo optimization represents one of the most exciting frontiers. Researchers are identifying blood markers, brain activity patterns, and physiological indicators that predict optimal placebo responsiveness. Future medicine might include regular placebo sensitivity testing to determine when belief-based interventions should be first-line treatments rather than last resorts. Digital therapeutics are evolving toward increasingly sophisticated placebo delivery systems. Smartphone apps are already providing measurable benefits for depression, anxiety, and chronic pain through combinations of behavioral interventions and carefully designed user experiences that enhance expectation and hope. Future apps might include AI-powered personalized coaching that adapts its approach based on real-time biomarker feedback and psychological state assessment. Imagine an app that monitors your heart rate variability, sleep patterns, and activity levels while providing personalized guided imagery, meditation exercises, and positive affirmations calibrated to your current stress state and healing needs. The app becomes a constant companion in optimizing your body's natural healing responses through precisely timed psychological interventions. The integration of placebo principles into conventional medical practice is accelerating. Medical schools are beginning to teach contextual healing, training future doctors in how their communication style, office environment, and relationship with patients all influence treatment outcomes. Some hospitals are redesigning their spaces based on placebo research, incorporating elements like natural lighting, soothing sounds, and healing artwork that enhance patients' expectation of recovery. Pharmaceutical companies are exploring how to enhance their medications' effectiveness by optimizing the placebo components of treatment. This might involve developing better packaging that increases expectation, creating more engaging patient education materials that enhance hope, or designing medication schedules that maximize the ritual and anticipation aspects of treatment. The concept of placebo enhancement therapy is emerging as a legitimate medical intervention. Rather than trying to eliminate placebo effects from treatments, future medicine might actively cultivate and amplify them. Patients might receive training in visualization, meditation, and positive expectation techniques designed to boost their natural healing responses to any medical intervention. Brain-computer interfaces offer perhaps the most sci-fi possibilities for future placebo medicine. Imagine devices that can directly monitor the neural activity associated with healing expectation and provide real-time feedback to optimize those brain states. Patients might learn to consciously activate their placebo responses through neurofeedback training, essentially gaining conscious control over their body's healing systems. The future might include placebo prescriptions as standard medical practice. Doctors might routinely prescribe hope, expectation, and healing ritual alongside conventional treatments, with specific instructions for optimizing therapeutic context. Insurance companies might cover meditation classes, healing environment design, and expectation optimization therapy as legitimate medical interventions. Research into placebo enhancement is revealing that belief-based healing can be trained and improved like any other skill. Studies are exploring whether regular meditation practice, visualization training, or specific psychological exercises can increase people's ability to generate healing responses from expectation alone. Future medicine might include placebo fitness programs designed to strengthen patients' capacity for self-healing. The intersection of placebo research with regenerative medicine and longevity science is opening remarkable possibilities. If belief and expectation can influence gene expression and cellular function, might optimized placebo interventions slow aging or enhance tissue repair? Early research suggests that people with strong healing expectations show markers of slower biological aging and better cellular health. Perhaps most intriguingly, the future of placebo medicine might involve collective and community-based interventions. Understanding how social proof and shared belief amplify healing responses could lead to group therapy approaches that harness the power of collective expectation. Imagine healing communities designed specifically to optimize shared placebo responses, where the belief and recovery of each member enhances the healing potential of everyone else. The ethical frameworks governing future placebo medicine will need to evolve alongside the science. We'll need new models for informed consent that balance honesty about mechanisms with preservation of therapeutic hope. We'll need guidelines for when placebo interventions should be first-line treatments and when they should supplement conventional medicine. As we look toward this future, Tonight we've explored how sugar pills can outperform expensive medications, how belief shapes our daily experiences, and how the future might hold personalized healing through optimized expectation. Your brain's ability to manufacture healing compounds, your body's responsiveness to hope and expectation, and the profound impact of belief reveal that consciousness itself can be a powerful tool in medicine. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the science, mystery, and profound implications of belief-based healing. If you're already drifting off, then our mission is complete. But if you're still awake, perhaps another deep dive will carry you gently into slumber. Until next time, may your mind's healing power be strong, your hope be unwavering, and your body's wisdom guide you toward wellness and peace.